Before we begin, please subscribe to the channel and give this video a like. This will help the channel grow and allow us to release even more wonderful stories for you. Have you ever looked in the mirror and wished you were someone else? Do you feel a heavy weight in your chest when you compare yourself to others, thinking that they are beautiful, smart, and talented, while you are simply not enough? Many of us know this feeling very well. It is a quiet voice inside that says, "You are not worthy. You will never succeed." For years, you might believe this voice. You might let it guide your choices, keeping you small and afraid. But the beautiful truth is that this voice is wrong. The most important journey you will ever take is the journey from self-doubt to self-love. It is not about becoming perfect. It is about seeing the perfection that already exists within your imperfections. Today, I want to share with you a gentle story about a young woman named Rosaline. Through her quiet struggles and her meeting with a wise teacher, you will learn that you are valuable, just as you are. Once upon a time, in a small, peaceful village surrounded by green hills, lived a young woman named Rosaline. On the outside, Rosaline was very much like everyone else. She had kind eyes and a gentle smile. She lived in a small cottage at the edge of the village and worked as a seamstress, sewing clothes for the people in her town. But inside, Rosaline was not peaceful. Inside, she was fighting a war with herself. Rosaline did not like herself. She thought she was too quiet, too clumsy, and too ordinary. Every morning, when she woke up, the first thing she felt was a cloud of sadness. She would look in the cracked mirror hanging on her wall and sigh. She would see only her flaws. She thought her nose was too big, her hair too messy, and her hands too rough. She would say to herself, "Oh, Rosaline, you are such a mess. Why can't you be like the other girls? Why can't you be confident and bright?" This problem of self-doubt affected every part of her life. Rosaline loved to paint, but she never showed her paintings to anyone. She kept them hidden under her bed because she was sure they were ugly. She wanted to join the village choir and sing, but she was terrified that people would laugh at her voice. When she walked down the street, she kept her eyes on the ground, afraid to make eye contact with anyone. She believed that if anyone looked at her too closely, they would see all the mistakes she thought she had. She lived her life in the shadows, always safe, but always lonely. She felt like a cracked cup, useful perhaps, but damaged, and not worthy of being placed on a nice table. She let her fear of failure stop her from trying anything new. Days turned into months, and months turned into years, and Rosaline remained stuck in the same small place, held prisoner by her own thoughts. One sunny afternoon, a wise older woman named Mrs. Graham moved into the village. Mrs. Graham was known for her beautiful garden, which was full of rare and colorful flowers. She was also known for her kindness and the peace that seemed to surround her. Rosaline was hired to help Mrs. Graham organize her sewing room and mend some old curtains. Rosaline went to Mrs. Graham's house with her head down, feeling nervous. She was afraid she would drop something or sew a button wrongly. When she arrived, Mrs. Graham welcomed her with a warm cup of tea and a soft smile. They began to work, but Rosaline was shaking. She was trying so hard to be perfect that she made a mistake. She dropped a box of buttons, and they scattered all over the wooden floor. Rosaline froze. Her face turned red with shame. Tears filled her eyes. She fell to her knees and started to gather the buttons, apologizing repeatedly. "I am so sorry, Mrs. Graham," she whispered, her voice trembling. "I am so clumsy. I am stupid. I should have been more careful. I am just not good enough for this." Mrs. Graham did not get angry. She gently reached out and touched Rosaline's shoulder, stopping her hands. "Rosaline," Mrs. Graham said softly, "please, stand up and sit with me." Rosaline looked up, afraid of what the older woman would say. Mrs. Graham looked into her eyes with great kindness. "I see a young woman who is full of fear," Mrs. Graham said. "You speak to yourself very harshly. You punish yourself for small mistakes. Why are you your own enemy?" Rosaline looked down at her hands. "Because it is true," she said quietly. "I am full of flaws. I am not enough." Mrs. Graham shook her head slowly. "That is not true," she said. "You are looking at yourself through a broken glass. You see only the cracks, not the light that shines through them. I want to teach you something, Rosaline, I want to give you a task." Mrs. Graham stood up and walked to a shelf. She took down a beautiful old wooden box. She opened it and took out a plain gray stone. It was a rough, unpolished rock that looked very ordinary. Then she took out a hammer and a chisel. She placed them on the table in front of Rosaline. "I have many stones in my garden," Mrs. Graham explained. "Some are smooth and perfect, and some are rough. This stone is like you, Rosaline. It has rough edges. It is not shiny yet. Your task is this. I want you to take this stone and the hammer. I do not want you to break the stone. I want you to carefully chisel away the rough outer layer to reveal the beauty inside. But you must do it with love, not with anger. Every time you strike the stone, you must say one thing you love about yourself. If you cannot think of anything, you cannot strike the stone." Rosaline looked at the stone and then at the hammer. She felt panic. "But I don't love anything about myself," she thought. This seemed impossible. "Take the stone home," Mrs. Graham said gently. "Work on it a little every day. Come back to me in 1 week." Rosaline took the stone home. That evening, she sat at her small table. She picked up the heavy hammer. She looked at the rough gray stone. She tried to think of one good thing about herself. "You are kind," a tiny voice in her heart whispered, but her loud mind shouted, "No, that is nothing. Being kind is easy. It is not special." Rosaline could not strike the stone. She sat there for an hour, crying. She realized how much she hated herself. She realized that Mrs. Graham was right. She was her own enemy. The next day, Rosaline tried again. She sat in the garden looking at a flower. She remembered how she had helped the little boy who had fallen down in the street last week. She had bandaged his knee. He had smiled at her. Maybe I am caring," Rosaline whispered very softly. Her voice shook. She tapped the stone gently with the hammer. A small piece of gray flake fell off. She did this every day. It was a slow and difficult process. Sometimes she could not find a single nice thing to say, and she had to stop. But she did not give up. On the third day, she thought, "I am hardworking. I never give up on my sewing, even when my back hurts." She tapped the stone. On the fifth day, she looked at her hands. They were not pretty, but they created beautiful clothes for people. "I have talent," she said. "I can make things that make people warm." On the sixth day, she thought about her loyalty. "I am a good friend to the few people who talk to me. I listen." As the days passed, Rosaline began to change. It was not a big, sudden change. It was a quiet shift inside. As she searched for things to love about herself, she started to see them everywhere. She saw the way she laughed when she saw a bird. She saw the way she always tried her best. She saw her resilience. She realized that her quietness was actually peacefulness, a gift in a noisy world. When she returned to Mrs. Graham's house 1 week later, she held the stone in her hand. It was no longer a rough, gray rock. It was smooth and polished. It shimmered in the sunlight. It was not a diamond, but it was beautiful in its own unique way, with swirls of white and blue running through it. Mrs. Graham smiled when she saw the stone. She did not look at the stone first. She looked at Rosaline. "And how are you, my dear?" she asked. Rosaline stood tall. Her eyes were clear. She did not look at the ground. She took a deep breath. "I am well, Mrs. Graham," she said. "I realized that the stone was always beautiful. It just needed someone to care for it. I realized that I am like the stone. I am not perfect, but I am worthy of love." Mrs. Graham nodded. "You see," she said, "we spend so much time trying to hide our flaws. But self-love is not about having no flaws. It is about accepting who you are, right now, in this moment. It is about speaking to yourself with the same kindness you would offer to a friend. When you stopped fighting yourself, you began to shine." From that day on, Rosaline was a different person. She did not suddenly become the loudest person in the village, and she did not become a famous painter, but she stopped hiding. She started to wear colors that made her happy. She started to sing while she sewed, even if it was just a hum. When she made a mistake, she laughed and fixed it, instead of calling herself names. She started to live. She joined the village choir, and while her voice was soft, it was true and full of emotion. People loved to hear her sing because they could feel the peace in her heart. She understood now that her value did not come from being perfect. It came from simply being Rosaline. The story of Rosaline teaches us a very important lesson about life. Many of us walk around feeling like we are not enough. We focus on our mistakes, our awkwardness, and the things we wish we could change. We think we need to be perfect to be loved. But the truth is that perfection does not exist. Every single person has struggles. Every single person has things they do not like about themselves. The lesson here is about the power of self-acceptance. You must be your own best friend. You cannot wait for others to love you to feel worthy. You must start by loving yourself. This means speaking kindly to yourself. It means forgiving yourself for your past mistakes. It means looking in the mirror and saying, I am valuable. I am doing my best, and that is enough. When you change the way you talk to yourself, you change your life. Just like the rough stone, you have hidden beauty inside you. You have talents and gifts that the world needs. Do not let self-doubt hide your light. Chip away at the negativity, little by little, with patience and love. Accept your flaws as part of your unique story. When you embrace who you are, you will find a peace and happiness that you have never known before. So as you go about your day today, I want you to remember Rosaline. When you make a mistake, be gentle with yourself. When you look in the mirror, find one thing you like. It might be your smile, your kindness, or your strength. Hold on to that thought. Treat yourself with the love and respect you deserve. Thank you so much for listening to this story. I hope it brought some light into your day and helped you to see your own worth. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and share it with someone who might need to hear this message. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you never miss a new story. Take care of yourself, be kind to yourself, and keep growing. Until next time, goodbye.